Greetings, one and all. Thank you for watching all my videos lately. The Bruce Lee one was very popular, so I thought I'd do a number 2 Bruce Lee and his aphorisms from this book, striking thoughts. You need more Bruce Lee. You can never have too much Bruce Lee, especially in this year of the dragon, wood dragon, I believe it is. I can't remember if Bruce Lee was a wood dragon or not, but he is a dragon. So we're going into some more Bruce Lee. And I wanted to start with this one because it was rather apt for me lately. The critic. Empty heads have long tongues. Commonly, they whose tongue is their weapon use their feet for defense. I've come up against a lot of critics lately, and their tongues are definitely running away with them. But not just that, it's also about having an empty head. And I did this little video about how my mind was all over the place lately, which I think some people kind of misunderstood. What I was really just saying was I was just having trouble settling the mind, and that I know other people have been in this last few weeks. There seems to be a wobble in the force, maybe. And I know some people say, oh, you're just making excuses now, but sometimes it is difficult to empty the mind. And I find it interesting here, he's saying about empty heads have long tongues, and I could feel myself that in that empty head I had different tongues from different forces trying to talk to me. Not saying that I had voices in my head or anything, but I definitely had thoughts that I had not thought about for a long time coming in while I was trying to concentrate on meditating. I couldn't be at peace with my own mind. Not that I started, using my feet in some kind of defense, but I do see that people do kick out when they are not thinking or speaking with thought, or when they're not, or when they're just speaking mechanically, I suppose, but they're not getting their way, or not being understood, or perhaps coming from a way of thinking that's a little bit, let's say, loony, and they don't like it that they're being questioned, so they tend to kick out. And I can myself at times, but this is why we need to keep good thoughts in our heads, make sure that we're bringing stuff up from our heart into our mind. Anyway, I'm going to go on. Bruce Lee reminds us there are always obstacles on the road to achievement. Believe me that in every big thing or achievement, there are always obstacles, big or small. And the reaction one shows to such obstacles is what counts, not the obstacle itself. There is no such thing as defeat until you admit so yourself, but not until then. So we are the ones that, when we give in or become the defeaters, it's because of us. We've been beaten in some way or whatever, and we've given up. But there will always be obstacles, as he says here, like I was saying earlier about us having trouble with my mind settling. That's because there were obstacles coming in my way, but I wasn't going to let it defeat me. And that was the whole point of my little video about my mind being all over the place, was that we shouldn't give up. I think I used the word persevere. I am persevering and continuing. And I do these videos to try and encourage people, so that when other people are going through these kind of problems or difficult moments, they do not give up. They persevere, do not be beaten, whether it's ourselves beating ourselves up or obstacles that come in our way. But these obstacles are there for tests, and we want to go around them or over them. Though some people like to crush their way through them, perhaps using their feet, kicking their way through, as he's saying here for that quote I gave earlier. But then he goes on to say, inner resistance is not the solution. Whether I like it or not, circumstances are thrust upon me. And being a fighter at heart, I sort of fight it in the beginning, but soon realize what I need is not inner resistance and needless conflict in the form of dissipation, rather by joining forces to readjust and make the best of it. And we have to do a lot of readjusting when obstacles come in our way. We have to readjust our plans, our thoughts, our way of being, so that we can find the solution to get round it or through it, and not to give up. Definitely, I'm coming from a spiritual path working here of what we're talking about, but it happens in our material, mechanical life as well. Don't add worry to your troubles. Serene, detached from all results, ready to fight or run, to win or lose, and always ready to laugh at all things, take whatever comes. Your child is ill, you say, or you cannot pay the rent. Very well, accept these facts and face them. Are they not trouble enough in themselves without adding the aggravation of worry to them? And, you know, we all have these kinds of problems. You know, how do we pay the rent? How do we pay the bills? My child's ill or someone's ill, and it's very worrying. But I've always seen worry as, it's like sitting in a rocking chair. You can rock all day in that chair, but you go nowhere. Worrying doesn't take you anywhere. So we have to stop the worry, even though it's always there niggling in the back of our mind. Worrying is just adding more trauma to the incident, I'll call it for now. We have to, if we can't do something in that moment, we have to do other things until we can deal with what that incident is. I know some people, and I myself have done it, I've wasted hours worrying or fuming about a situation that I can do nothing about because that wasn't the right time to do it. I'm trying to think of an example, really. I don't know. I'm just doing one I pulled out of my head. You know, I need to get a refund for something, and I'm, you know, need that money, but the shop is shut and I can't go to that shop until it reopens. Let's say it's a Friday night and it doesn't open till Monday. I can't waste that weekend worrying about going and getting that money. That's a waste of energy. It is quite a difficult one not to worry, but it is something that steals energy, and we're trying not to steal energy, have our energy stolen, whether it's by us or by others. Worry only creates problems for those around you. One who is possessed by worry not only lacks the poise to solve his own problems, but by his nervousness and irritability creates additional problems for those around him. You know, I can't really add to that. It's so true. When I've been with people that are worrying, it is difficult to deal with them because they're stuck in that worry and that problem. You can't seem to move on to anything else or change the subject or anything because it always comes back to that, whatever that incident is that they're going through. And then he says, learn to walk. Why add the tension of emotion, thought to a situation which is illusion, to the extent that it is real, of a passing moment, in any event, the result of previous causes? Do what seems wise to be done, forget it and walk on. Walk on and see a new view. Walk on and see the birds fly. Walk on and leave behind all things that would dam up the inlet or clog the outlet of experience. And that is quite true. I know I've held on to things in the past. We've all held on to things that are not helping us or helping us move on. You know, it's kind of like what Gurdjieff says about us holding on to our suffering. And I'm not saying this from a defeatist point of view, but there are some things that we have to let go. And we know what they are when it happens, but it's difficult to let go sometimes. But we have to walk on, as he says, walk on. He does a little series about quality. And this again is something I wanted to talk about because I was recently talking to some people about some things. I'm not going to say what they were, but they were coming from a quantitative way of thinking about it rather than a quality. It's again something Gurdjieff talks about a lot. The quality is far more important than the quantity. And Bruce says, I don't want to do anything halfway. It has to be perfect. And we can try and make things perfect, but I sometimes find perfect is unattainable. Or as Salvador Dali says, perfection is impossible. But we can get close to it. We shouldn't be doing things half-heartedly. We should be putting our full everything into it, or as Gurdjieff would say, all three centres would give much greater results than working from one centre. And I see how some of my incidences over the years have been because I've been working from just one or two centres instead of all three centres, which will then give you a qualitative result. What was I going to do? My only sure reward is in my actions and not from them. The quality of my reward is in the depths of my response. the centralness of the part of me I act from. Ever since I was a kid, the word quality has meant a lot to me. Somehow I know, and I am devoting sincerely myself to it with much sacrifice and heading towards a direction. You can rest assured that Mr. Quality himself will always be there. If you want to do your duty properly, you should do just a little more than that. And for those of you that read Gurdjieff, as he says, you pay not just the stamp, you pay the whole hog. What's it? No, I've said that wrong. Anyway, most of you know what I mean. If you can remember what it means, put it in the comment or the actual saying. And Bruce goes on to say, aim at perfection in everything, though in most things it is unattainable. However, they who aim at it and persevere will come much nearer to it than those whose laziness and despondency make them give it up as unattainable. And people sometimes on the spiritual path do give up on certain things because they feel they are unattainable, when really they should be putting more effort in, more strenuous effort, as Mr. Gurdjieff would say. And Bruce reminds us, make at least one definite move daily towards your goal, kind of like Gurdjieff's aims, isn't it? Make your aim and work towards it. Bruce says, I don't believe in pure luck. You have to create your own luck. You have to be aware of the opportunities around you and take advantage of them. Opportunities may come your way or they may not. Luck may come your way or it may not. But if they come your way and you call that luck, you better be ready for it. And we do. We have to be ready all the time. I'm telling people all the time, always expect the unexpected. Be ready for when them times come that help you move on onto your next stage. We're supposed to be watchful, optimistic, obviously. We're supposed to be awake enough to be aware of what's going on around us so we can see these opportunities when they're coming to us and when they're there for us to grab. And sometimes we have hesitation, which is a bit of a worry. Don't worry. Hesitation sometimes makes us miss opportunities. But when we've got that hesitation, maybe that's when we've got to push ourselves forward, because with hesitation comes doubt, and then we're doubting ourselves. And we just need to take that leap of faith, as they say, and do things. If we know it's right, we should be following our conscience, following what's going on in our solar plexus. I think our solar plexus gives us a lovely feeling when we know when it's the right thing to do, and it gives us warnings when it's not. And I've sometimes mistaken those warnings and thinking, oh, this means I'm supposed to do this, when really my solar plexus is all over the place and I'm all over the place. But that's probably, to me, now I see it as a warning. But you have to ascertain what your solar plexus is saying to you, or find out what it is that are your warning signs. Some people I know have it through the heart, feel heart palpitations when something's not right, or some people feel that prickly skin feeling or something, and mistake it sometimes for, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But if we were awake, we'd be able to know whether it was right or not, which is why we must work on ourselves continuously. I was going to do philosophy, but I've lost the pages. Where did they go? One moment, sorry, I'm holding everybody up. Right, I've lost it. So I'm just going to do something else. Let's do meditation, he says here. Since I've lost the philosophy pages. My little bookmark fell out. Meditation is not introversion. It is not a technique of introversion by which one seeks to exclude matter and the external world, to eliminate distracting thoughts, to sit in silence, emptying the mind of images, and to concentrate on the purity of one's own spiritual essence. Zen is not a mysticism of introversion and withdrawal. It is not acquired contemplation. To think that this insight is a subjective experience attainable by some kind of process of mental purification is to doom oneself to error and absurdity. Mirror wiping Zen. Wipe on, wipe off. Let's all do our Chinese Tai Chi exercises, my bun, wipe off. At this moment, stop inwardly. When you do stop inwardly, psychologically, your mind becomes very peaceful, very clear. Then you can really look at this in quotation marks. Kind of like Gurdjieff's stop exercise. He used to tell us when to stop, but we have to learn to tell ourselves when to stop and take a moment. Breathe it, yeah. Let your mind kind of sort of still as it takes just a moment of stopping. Enlightenment is knowledge. There is no difference between such enlightenment and what is ordinarily termed knowledge. For in the latter, contrast exists between the knower and the known, whereas in the former, there can be no such contrast. And I was going to do the bits about self-knowledge, because Bruce was always telling his students when he was doing his Jeet Kune Do lessons and working with all the actors and students he had, know thyself, which we all know is a very important aphorism, know thyself. And he says, it is later than you think, know yourself. Mustn't be wasting time, peoples. Instead of establishing rigid rules and separative thoughts, we should look within ourselves to see where our particular problems lie and our cause of ignorance. You see, ultimately, all type of knowledge simply means self-knowledge. You must look for the truth yourself and directly experience every minute detail for yourself. And I know this sometimes stops people in this work having to learn about themselves and getting to know themselves and their whims and their our shittiness and our loveliness and not being attached to the past and how we were in the past. Remember when we were in the past doing things, it was a different person. It wasn't you. It was, you wasn't awake. You was asleep in the past. But we should be more aware now of when we're doing things. But at the same time, we need to get to know ourselves, to know why we act like this or why we react like that. Know why we feel this way, what it is that triggers us, what it is that lifts us and enlightens us. These kinds of things are very important for our development. And as you know, in the mystery schools, one of the first aphorisms that you had to learn or lessons you had to go through was the know thyself, learn about yourself. And deal with all those parts of you that you don't like, why you don't like that part of yourself, perhaps change it, what your good points are, but not sitting there going, oh, aren't I a wonderful person? It's just understanding who you are and how you operate. Bruce goes on to say, to know oneself is to study oneself in action with another person. Relationship is a process of self-revelation. Relationship is the mirror in which you discover yourself. To be is to be related. To be is to be related. Related to who you are. Related to the situation you're in. Being awake. And he goes on about the liberating quality of self-knowledge. When you're faced with looking at your own life with awakened eyes, you will have increased a bit in the knowledge of yourself. In other words, your mental and physical abilities will become clear to you. And knowledge of anything outside of yourself is only superficial and very shallow. To put it another way, self-knowledge has a liberating quality. Criticizing others is easier than coming to know yourself, for it is easy to criticize and break down the spirit of others, but to know yourself takes maybe a lifetime. To take responsibility of one's actions, good and bad, is something else. After all knowledge simply means self-knowledge. We make excuses for our actions sometimes when we screw up, or we sometimes see ourselves as better as someone else because they're still on their learning path and we feel we've passed that stage. All these things we have to look at ourselves about and why we're being like that, because we're trying to be impartial from the Gurdjieff point of view. in all our actions. And Bruce reminds us, learning to truly see, we possess a pair of eyes, but most of us do not really see in the true sense of the word. I must say that when the eyes are used externally to observe the inevitable faults of other beings, most of us are rather quick with readily equipped condemnation. True seeing, in the sense of choiceless awareness, leads to new discoveries, and discovery is one of the means to uncovering your potentiality. And that's what I've been, again, trying to encourage people, and for myself as well also, is the uncovering of who I am, and discovering who I am and my place in this world. And developing myself, hopefully, to be a better person and to attain to try and reach a higher version of myself. Freedom lies in understanding yourself from moment to moment. And I'm going to finish with this about truth. One must be truthful and honest in his approach, a constant independent inquiry, and not blindly following a certain blueprint laid down by others. And too many people follow blueprints. Too many people are trying to follow Gurdjieff to the letter, or other spiritual teachers are available. There's blueprints there for us to work on, but then we have to take it in our way. And we will know if the right way is happening, because the ancient wisdom and the truth will still come through us. But if we start deviating from it or try to change the ancient wisdom or the truth, the ancient truth, it won't work and things will start going wrong. You know, I encourage people to, blaze your own path, be your own star. We can't copy everybody else. We still have to do our own way, but they're there for us to, the Gurdjieffs and the Bruce Lees and such like of this world are there for us to learn from. I don't want to say imitate, but we can still walk in their footsteps. As Gurdjieff says, we're all walking up, we're all making our way up the ladder, and there's people in front of us and there's people behind us. But we're still doing it in our own way, but hopefully it's the right way. And one last quote. We shall find the truth when we examine the problem. The problem is never apart from the answer. The problem is the answer. The understanding of the problem is the dissolution of the problem. It is a mistake to think that one can establish a universal definition of verification. And as Gurdjieff says, he said, verify everything he said, Gurdjieff. I'm sure Bruce Lee would feel the same way. And I also feel the same way. Go and verify for yourself what you need to know, what you're being told. Don't just take what people tell you as truth, the answer, or, too many people are going down conspiracy rabbit holes lately. Verify, verify, verify. Till next time, people, thank you for watching. Love to you all.